Hello everyone, welcome to 9 to 5 to Business Owner podcast. Today I'm sitting with Kayle Phillips. He works in Attree real estate over in Southern River. Welcome to the podcast,
Thanks for having
Kayle.
me. Thank you.
Now, after you finish your schooling in year 12, you try to become a professional footy
That was the
player.
plan. Yeah.
And then you went to construction and you ended up in real estate.
Yeah.
Now that's a lot of changes.
Yeah.
You wanna share people who don't know about you about what made you come to real estate?
Yeah.
And let's start from there.
Okay, so ideally going through high school, the plan was to play footy.
Yeah.
Did my ACL. That didn't really pan out for me.
Okay.
I went into the building industry while I was sort of playing local footy. Knew I didn't want to be doing that and ended up getting out of that, went and worked part-time at the gym.
Okay.
While I was doing that, I met the owner of a real estate agency in Northbridge.
Oh, okay.
He encouraged me to get into real estate, so he said I would have a good chance at doing that, making it work, and it sort of suited what I thought my attributes were. So then I went into doing that part-time as the gym, part-time real estate. Knew I wanted to do that full-time, so then did interviews back here around this area, the area I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
So did interviews with multiple agencies in the area, and then Attree was head and shoulders better than the other agencies in my opinion. Just in terms of technology, everything that they were doing. I wanted to be here, did that, and here I am.
No, that's good. So you're always like a type of guy who love to talk to people, because in this field you need to make a lot of phone calls, a lot of follow-ups and things like that.
Gift to the gab. Yeah.
So in your early days, what were your hardest struggles, that you saw, and what were your wins, if you could share those?
Right.
Please.
So essentially at the start, it was working for like half of minimum wage. Like there was just no real reward for it. So there's a lot of hours and working double what most people would work just to try and get something. And then when you do get something, it's very rare. And then slowly that builds up. So every year I've just tried to double what I'm doing in terms of work. Last year I got to a point where I burnt out. So there was a lot of highs and lows in between. And the struggle was trying to not get too excited about the highs and not get too down about the lows and just try and balance that out. That was probably the hardest part.
Okay. When someone sees some tough times and shiny object syndrome kind of kicks in, they find something new and they jump over thinking, oh, that's not going to work out. And now you were saying like for every year you try to double whatever you were doing.
What I was doing,
And so that means you had it in your mind that it's going to take years to reach where you are.
Yeah, definitely years. Like the first year I made like next to nothing. So that was a full 12 months of working really hard, knowing that, and everyone kept telling me, like the support at Attree is really good, but everyone kept telling me that it's going to take 2 or 3 years before you get somewhere. And that's really what happened. So the first year I made stuff, or the next year I started to make some money. So it wasn't hard to double in my second year. And then after that, when I doubled again, it was starting to become worth it.
Okay.
And then it just got better from there.
Just briefly, to people who are new in this industry, who want to be, because there are so many people who want to be agents, but to be honest, we all know 95% fail. Not all succeed.
Correct.
Can you take us through briefly what type of daily routines you have to make things work? Because as we know, like, if you don't make a lot of phone calls, if you don't follow up, it gets, work doesn't come to you. You need to go to work, right?
Correct.
You can't just have an office and you expect everyone to walk in. You need to go to them, right? What would you say about that?
So for me, it was about doing the things that other people don't want to do. So door knocking is something that people just don't want to do. Cold calling is something people don't want to do. So I knew that if I did that, and all the training says if you do that, you'll meet someone who wants to do something. And it's about the amount of repetitions you can do, and then you create your own luck. So for me, it was, if you're going to make calls, if you make 100 calls a week, 3 of those people will probably be doing something in the next 12 months. And you stack that up over week on week on week. Ideally for us, it was just about trying to help people. So I wasn't calling people to go, are you selling? Can you sell? What are you doing? It was more, this is some information. If you need anything, let me know. Then people would come to me, and they'd come back to me, and they knew that I wasn't a pushy salesman. So it was more of a long-term approach to when I was calling people as well, or door knocking. So ideally I went through Haynes and Hilbert, and that was an area that I chose to focus on. So went through and knocked on all the doors there and just introduced myself.
Doors?
Yeah, twice.
Oh, wow.
So most of the doors got knocked on twice.
Yeah.
Some people I didn't get back to the second time round because it just started getting busier.
Yeah.
So all the prospecting I was doing when I had lots of time started to fall away when I got really busy.
Yeah.
And then work started coming in naturally just through obviously reputation.
Yeah.
But then, so that's when it started to snowball.
Yeah. I know it's really tough because I have personally done some door knocking myself.
Yeah, it sucks.
And it's very easy to, it's like, oh, I'll just drop this pamphlet, that's it.
Yeah.
And I'll just walk away.
It's safe.
And I've done so many houses, but it's not.
It's hard to stay consistent. There were times when I sat in the car for half an hour just because I couldn't get out of the car.
Okay, now for the people who are looking to buy in this market, we all know the market has gone bonkers, right? Like it has gone too crazy over the last, especially a year and a half, right? Yeah. And what do you see the common things why people keep missing out? Like you would see a lot of people, missing out. Maybe they were able to get it, but we know a lot of things comes into. There are a lot of factors that make people make decisions on. Yeah. What are your points?
Well, ideally, you want to know what you don't know, and as a buyer, you don't know a lot, especially if you're doing it for the first time. Yeah. So working with someone who knows what they're doing is going to give you a big leg up, even when you don't notice. Yeah. Like if someone goes to a buyer's agent, that buyer's agent having 20 conversations a day with agents in the area, so they know what is going on. So like yourself, when I first met you, you were asking me about the properties in the area. Yes. And then I obviously informed you of all the properties coming up in the area, all the properties that weren't on the market, what was going on. So just that conversation alone, that's a lot of benefit to clients. It's a big factor of just knowing what you don't know and going to someone who can help teach you that.
Yeah, just like an example, today I was talking to a prospect and they were showing me a property. Okay, I want property like that, but that was well underpriced than the other properties. And I was like, we don't know what the conditions were. Maybe they wanted to lease for another year or 2 years, or we don't know if the seller had some situation, if they had to get rid of the house quickly.
Yeah, if it's a fire sale, it's typically a concern.
Yeah, sometimes people move overseas or interstate. There could be many reasons. Yeah. But it's good to even talk to the local agents, hey,
So we have, for Haynes and Hilbert, we've got a page where it's just for buyers. Yeah. And so people have to request to join, so it's not just open to everyone. Yeah. So just a page like that, like I know you're in it. Yeah. So all of our properties that aren't even on the market yet, you're aware of. Yeah. Stuff like that. So we can't do it for all properties in Western Australia, but we can do it for smaller areas. Yeah. So guys in our office all have their niche markets that they look after. Yeah. Mikey does like the big rural properties. Okay. So anything like that, if you're looking for something like that, it's good to go to someone who does those as their specialty.
Like me working as a buyer's agent, not all people want to hire a buyer's agent. Yeah. Right? And people who don't, I still try to give them some value. I tell them, it's totally fine if you don't want to use my services, but you can still go to your local agents, always ask them what's coming, what's not. Yeah. And when something comes up, they will ping you, they will let you know. So that's one way to get ahead of other buyers.
Yeah, correct. Right? Yeah. And I know that buyers will go to agents and say, can you let me know? Yeah. It is hard for an agent to keep everybody updated. So
but if someone keep coming over and over,
definitely.
And that property comes, you will think about that guy first, right?
100%. So even though buyers might feel like they're annoying agents, it is good to stay in communication. Yeah. But if they've got a page like the off-market pages and stuff like that, that's good to join. Yeah. Because it makes that process a lot easier. Yes. But we don't not get back to you, and it's not personal. Yeah. It's just that we have that same conversation with a lot of buyers all the time, especially in the market we've just come from.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And regarding sellers, I've seen similar type of property. One sell real quick and the other don't. Yes. And once it's like couple of home opens when it happens, then the interest slows down. And I can see that there are less people on those home opens where it has been 3 or 4. The one that has been on the market for a while. And the first home open for a property, it has a lot of interest. Yes. So presentation could be a very key factor, right? How you present the property. What do you say about that?
For us, it's a matter of educating the seller. So again, as a seller, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. And if you go and rush it to market and you haven't got your presentation right,
Yeah.
it's going to affect the process.
Yes.
Some people are going to go through and they're going to go, I do like the property,
Yeah.
and I don't know what it is, but it's not
Yeah.
quite the one for me.
Yeah.
And just that feeling that they get when they come
Yeah.
through is enough for them to not make an offer.
Yes.
Whereas that could have been your buyer. So you don't want to just go, oh, that's fine, we'll just put it on the market.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you're getting it right before you do.
Yes.
Typically, if it's on the market for 3 or 4 weeks in this market, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And you want to know what that is. Typically for us, we communicate that it's either the marketing that the agent is using. For us, it isn't, because we obviously do a really good marketing package and it sells all of our properties.
Okay.
It's either the presentation of the home or it's the price of the property. It typically boils down to those 3 things.
Yeah.
If it's the presentation, that's something that is on us to help communicate to you,
Yeah.
but for you as the seller to make sure you're doing everything you can
Yes.
to get it presented as best you can,
Yes.
then it's about the price. Obviously, if you present it really well, but you price it for $10 million, it doesn't matter. If you price it like crap, but you put it on for $100,000, it's still going to go crazy.
Yeah,
So
you got to find the right balance.
the right balance and pricing it right, presenting it right, and making sure you go with a really good agent to make sure the marketing is done.
Yeah.
That way, when you're looking at offers, you know that you've done everything you can
Yes.
to get the best price possible.
Yes, yes. And, there are a lot of agencies everywhere, pretty much, real estate agents.
Yep.
They are everywhere.
Yeah.
And a lot of people must think that, okay, he's going the cheapest way, he's gonna charge me less commission.
Yeah.
And that may not be the best way to look at when they wanna sell.
Yeah.
What do you say about that?
The lower commission agents are the ones to avoid. If someone comes in and goes a really low comm straight away, it's because they can't compete with a good agent.
Yeah.
So good agents will charge a fair fee.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that good agents will do that cheap agents won't.
Yeah.
Most of the cheap agents will get photos done. They'll show up they'll put it on realestate.com and then they'll show up and hope people show up. So there's a lot more that good agents will do to ensure that you've got the most people as possible at the home open.
Yeah.
I would definitely avoid anyone who comes in at a really low fee straight away.
Yeah, I would say you can't compare an agent just by looking at who has the lowest fee, because you're not gonna get the same service from both. You can't compare 2 agents with the fee.
I've seen it many times where the difference between a really good agent and a really bad agent is like, it can be 50K.
Yeah.
And that's a huge difference in terms of $1,000 difference in terms of the comm versus the $50,000 difference in the sale price. It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
It's the same when people decide to try and sell their property off market.
Yeah.
I've just went out and met a couple today that tried to sell it off market. But people show up knowing that you've gone with the cheaper option and that you've tried to save money and do it all yourself. So they're typically already going to be offering you less anyway.
Yeah.
So you're better off doing it all right, doing it the proper way, getting a good agent that's well known in the area to then market your property, bring all the right buyers in, create that feeling of competition and generate the best price.
Yeah, no, that's right. Now regarding investors, there are a lot of people who have equities in their houses now.
Yeah.
Thanks to Eastern State investors, I would say, because before they came, the property prices were almost half than what they are now, right? So average, even let's say suburbs like Balga, right? Property costed $300,000 for a villa 3 years ago, now it's 600.
Yeah. I appraised one just this afternoon in Seville Grove that was 307 they paid for it in 2020, and now we've just appraised it over 700.
So now do you see a lot of people becoming investors here now because now they have the equity?
I am starting to see that. So we're getting a lot of rental referrals into the office. So people who are, when we're talking to them, they're going, oh, look, we're thinking about selling, but what we've done is we've decided to keep the property, use the equity to purchase another property, and then rent out that property in the meantime. So there are a lot of properties in like an area like Haynes and Hilbert where they built the property for 350, 400K in 2017, 2018, who are now pulling out all that equity, keeping the property, and then purchasing something else. There's a lot of that going on, definitely.
In Perth, in WA, there are people earning good incomes.
Yeah.
So most of the time, it's people the spending habits that they haven't been able to save what they need. So I know there are financial products like that as well. Like if you don't have the deposit, there are third-tier lenders or second-tier lenders. They give you the deposit money on a higher interest rate as long as you have the serviceability.
Yeah.
For investors, like what couple of things that they need to have in the investment property, first I would say like the area where there's higher rental demand. What are the other couple of things you can think of?
Like long-term growth.
Yeah.
So when you're buying investment property, you're either looking at it as a cash flow thing
Yes.
or a growth thing,
Yeah.
like long-term.
Yes.
So if you're looking at something that is in a really well-established area that's close to the coast,
Yes.
there is going to be growth there.
Yeah.
If you're looking at something that's in a really well-established area, all the amenities are done, but it's in a further out suburb, it might not have the same growth over time. If it's in an area like Haynes and Hilbert, where it's a newer area, then there is going to be new schools and new shopping centres and stuff like that. So the rents are good there.
Yeah.
In comparable to Harrisdale and Piara Waters, where the rents are not that far apart.
Yeah.
They're still relatively similar, but the price for the purchase price is a lot higher.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more to happen in Haynes and Hilbert, like new schools and stuff. So there is going to be long-term growth there.
Yeah.
So areas that have a lot to still come is a good one to invest in now, which will pay off in the future.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you are just looking for good rent returns, or there's a lot of different factors in what you should look for.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Like a lot of people, they miss things. That's where us buyer's agent comes to guide the people about the properties, because I try to tell people the Haynes, Hilbert, Seville Grove, they have massive potential, because I know civil engineers who are about to put tenders for the Tonkin very soon.
Yeah.
So the tender's gonna go in, and government, they're gonna start the Tonkin.
Yeah.
And when the highway comes in, and
the transport, the new schools, the shopping centres, everything.
And the ease of access to people to reach places, you know.
Yeah.
I think this area, this pocket where you work, is really good for investors.
Yeah, and there's already been so much growth, but I can see a world in which it continues to grow.
Yeah.
Like there is just the Haynes and Hilbert, no one knew it existed 3 or 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. People now still not very comfortable for investors.
Yeah. But it to me it is it does make sense. Like it does definitely make sense.
I think it's one of the areas where it's going to be the next hotspots, like Beldavis was. See, because it was next to the highway. Yeah. But you can't subdivide any property in Beldavis. But here in Seville Grove, you can, right? So it has more potential. It's one of the next hotspots, I think. Yeah. Because the highway gonna come, it's gonna be sitting next to it like Beldavis. Yeah. You know, like those type of suburbs.
It's pretty much 30 minutes to anywhere. So there is accessibility to get to where you need to go. Yeah. So definitely,
Now, when someone go to sell a property, sometimes things don't turn out the way they should, right? Sometimes there are issues with the settlements, you know.
Right.
Like, what couple of things you say we should have to have smoother settlement?
Smoother process?
Yeah.
I think a lot of the times it does boil down to the agent. Yeah. And what we do, we're storytellers. So we need to be telling you of how things are going to play out. So we need to give you all the options, all the scenarios, and run you through all of those things. So if there's an issue that can happen in the future, it's sort of our job to let you know that can happen. And we set up a lot of that early in the process and then run you through it throughout the process. So most of those can be avoided by the agent communicating them to you to help you to avoid them. But again, you don't know what you don't know. So you need to ask questions, you need to be on top of things. Speak to your broker, your settlement agent and your real estate agent, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. Some people leave it till the end and then completely miss what they need to be doing.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you've got a buyer's agent involved, it makes the whole process a lot smoother. Yeah. Because that person is there to guide you through that process.
Yeah, that's the job, to represent the buyer. Because
correct, and stop them from making those mistakes.
When seller go to sell a house, they go to seller's agent, and it's seller's job to represent, and it's their fiduciary duty.
Correct.
But for buyers,
no one's there.
No one representing them.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So there's a lot of educating need to be happening. That's what I would put a lot of content.
Yeah, definitely. Because there's not really much buyers agencies that happen in Perth. It's not really a common thing yet. Yeah. But it is a very common thing over eastern states.
It's gonna trickle down here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it'll definitely pick up because we get that many calls from people over east. Yeah. Every other day, just have you got anything else? Have you got anything else? Yeah. So it definitely pays to have someone in your corner.
That's right. To those people, sometimes life happens, and there are people who get into hard situations, tough situations, where they need to make sales, where they need to sell the house in a hurry, things like that. how can someone sell a house quickly and still get the most, like
The most for it, yeah. So
right agent?
correct, yeah. But like there's,
Yeah.
we have a thing that we call stage marketing.
Okay.
So, and again, we've spent a lot of money on making sure that the training is really top notch, and
Yes.
the office, to their credit, are in here getting us training all the time.
Yeah.
Stage marketing is a concept of where you do it in different stages. So you're doing it pre-market campaign, which is for people who are in discussions with buyers agents,
Yeah.
and we discuss properties with them.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can solve a problem.
Yes.
So if a seller needs to sell something quickly,
Yeah.
we flick some details through to you.
Yeah.
You understand the area, you understand the prices and what's going on. You can then advise your client if it's a good deal or not.
Yeah.
So we do send properties out to buyers agents. We send them out to people in our Facebook pages and stuff like that who are staying up to date with our properties.
Yes.
So that's sort of the first stage of things. Then we do your photos, your marketing, we put you online.
Yeah.
As long as you get those three things right, and the presentation, the pricing,
Yeah.
you get all of that right,
Yeah.
you're going to have good interest, which is going to generate a good price.
Yes.
If the property is worth 700 or whatever, and you put it on for 730, thinking that maybe someone will come in and offer you 700 and you'll be happy.
Yeah.
Typically, it doesn't work like that anymore. Real estate for a long time, that's how it was. That's how it was. At the moment, if it's worth 700, you're better off putting it on at 700 and getting more people through, having some competition, and then that pushing the price up for you. But yeah, people who want to sell it quickly but also want to sell it for more than it's worth, you end up getting stuck. So you're better off being advised not to do that. And that's probably what I would say.
No, there's a lot of things people need to. The main thing is if you get a right agent, you know, you
will be guided. Exactly, and that's where the difference between a cheap agent and a good agent, if it's a couple of grand, even just the headaches that you save not dealing, you typically get what you pay for. Pay for someone who knows what they're doing, you'll end up with more money in your pocket and less headaches than if you go with the cheapest agent.
I think there are people who would find people with less commissions, you know, everywhere, but you know, like if they have already proved that they can't negotiate their fee, you know, with the people, you know, they have proved themselves that they can't negotiate. How are they gonna negotiate with the other
for
people,
your price, correct, So even in an appraisal, if someone says, oh, you know, can you do a cheaper fee? I go, well, I can call 6 agents and get you people who will do it for cheaper, but none of them are going to get you a similar price, and you're going to have so many more headaches throughout that process. So it definitely, I wouldn't get too hung up on the fee. I would be more concerned of, is this person going to be someone who can take me through the process and look after me and get me a really good result.
That's right. Now, can you share a memorable success like that's like a highlight in your career so far?
I feel like it's all just happened so quickly. Like it's just like, as I said, there's so many highs and lows, and it's something that's it's a good question. Probably the highs are the ones where I've had a really good month and everything turns to gold and everyone's selling and everyone's making offers.
Transactions.
Really good. But then like those are the months that you also look back on and go, geez, I was really burnt out. Like it's just so fun, but you're just running on adrenaline the whole time that you end up getting really exhausted at the end of it. And so it's it's hard to counteract that and balance yourself. But now that I've been in the game a longer time, I don't think I get as excited and I just stay a bit more calm and level-headed. So then that way it's not so exhausting throughout that process. But there were some months that was just sort of like, it's just crazy, especially when you're going from one sale every 3 months to a month where you're having 15 sales in the month. It's just absolutely crazy,
I guess, these are times to remember for a long time. But Perth, I think the Perth market, I don't think it's gonna change a lot over the next 5 or 10 years because of the demand is so bad, right? Unless our mining industry died for whatever reason, which it doesn't sound like that's going to happen anytime soon. But like Perth used to be looked at as a mining town. That was just what we were looked at. We're not all mining, right? We're not, no. So it's changed now. Perth's a destination location. So people want to live here now. Like the thought around Perth has changed, and it's changed a lot. And there's a lot of people who do see the benefit of the lifestyle that you can have here. Like it's 30 minutes to anywhere. It's always good weather. Even in winter, it doesn't get that cold. Like it's a good place to live. Like I recently put a video on TikTok, like I'm helping someone from Sydney who's going to move here to live. And they were like almost 20,000 people watching it, and there were so many different comments, but most of them were like, you made the right decision.
Yeah.
There were a few who were saying, oh, we need to have good schools and good, universities. And I was like, are you sure there are no good schools and universities here?
Yeah, there are. Yeah, exactly.
We got everything here.
But most of them just don't view us as the same as that. They just view us as a
village,
town.
like some people still do that.
Yeah, but that's definitely changed a lot, and it's still changing.
Yeah.
So there's no like the values in the area are speaking to that change in thought process. Yeah, definitely.
Now, what tips would you give to someone who's looking to jump into this industry
into real estate?
Yeah.
Be prepared to not make a heck of a lot of money up front. Like it is something that you have to look at as an apprenticeship.
Yes.
And obviously if you're in an apprenticeship, you don't make much money in the first year.
Yeah.
Goes up slightly, up slightly, and then you're qualified.
Yeah.
Look at real estate as your first 2 or 3 years as your apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Try and learn as much as you can.
Yes.
And then after that, and it's typically when you're ready to give up, that next stage is when it comes really good, and that's when things start to come in for you. But we say things about real estate agents all the time where you can be in real estate for 10 years and have 1 year's worth of experience because you're just repeating the same things day in, day out. Or you can be in real estate for 1 year but have 10 years experience. So you really want to try and get as much experience as possible in that first year and then just keep building on that throughout. Yeah. And then by the time you're at your 5 to 10 year mark, you're absolutely firing.
Yeah.
So it's just trying to stay out that first 2 or 3 years and learn as much as you can. And the more that you learn, the better off you'll be.
Yeah. Is it fair to say that if you're coming to this industry with the mindset of making money, you're probably not going to make it?
No, not really. No. You got to look at it as like how many people can I communicate to and help?
Yeah.
And then
serving people.
Yeah, and you got to look at it as a long-term goal. Yeah. Like someone might say to you, I'm not selling for 2 years. And you go, oh, okay, never mind, and move on to the next one.
Yeah.
But that 2 years comes up pretty quick. And that person will probably change their mind and sell earlier. Yes. So if you're communicating to that person and being helpful over that process, by the time they're ready to sell, you're the no-brain option because you're the one that's been helpful that whole time. Yeah. So then they'll just call you and go, hey, I'm ready to sell, and then you list it straight away. So those are the ones that you go, it seems easy when you list it, but it's all that work that you did ahead of time that made that easy.
I mean, you also don't want to be too salesy and have people smell the commission breath, right?
The commission breath, correct,
So how often you follow up with people? Let's say someone has shown interest. Yeah. If we push hard on it,
you'll push them away. Yeah.
You push them away.
Over communicate.
Yeah. So what sort of roughly time frame you work with, like to?
So when I'm calling people, like in my area and stuff like that, to give them information, if they mention that they're selling anytime in the next 2 years, they'll get into the next bracket. And so that next bracket will be people who have indicated that they're selling in some time. Okay. If there's a need to call them for a certain thing and they've asked me to call them in a year's time or anything like that, a note will get attached to that, which reminds me at the time to call them and what it's for. Okay. So as many notes as I can put in there, it's great because it's going to remind me of that conversation that I've had. Yeah. And then when they're in that period of in the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to market. Yeah. That's when they go into that final stage of these are the people I want to be communicating to way more often. Yeah. That's typically a list of 50 to 100 people who are trying to do something soon. So as I can communicate to them, they get closer and closer and being ready. Yeah. But the important thing is not to over communicate to them. Yes. But these are the people that want to hear from you because these are the people doing something.
Because unwarranted advice could backfire, right?
Could backfire, absolutely. Yeah. And if they say, call me in 2 weeks and you call them the next day, what are you doing? Like, you're going to look pretty stupid. Yeah. So you just want to make sure you listen to what they say and note it down. Because I think sometimes I would get so caught up in so many conversations and just doing all the different things and I wasn't able to handle it. I'd make notes on paper and then I'd forget about it. Yeah. And then I would forget to call them when they asked. Yeah. Or I would call them because I forgot when they wanted me to call them. Okay. But if you can stick to when they've asked you to call them and then call them on that day, as we discussed, as you asked me to, and then call them, it makes you look very professional.
And your credibility goes up.
Your credibility goes up, But if you're just constantly hassling them, credibility goes down. Yeah. So we normally say if you do one bad thing, it nullifies 10 good things. But if you do, it's vice versa. Yeah. So you want to make sure you do as many good things as you can to stack up those credits to make sure that you do look credible.
how important is to have a right mentor? Not right mentor, I mean a mentor.
A mentor is really important, yeah. I had someone who's really, really good, obviously done it for a long time, and they were really big on training. And so going through that process, they put me onto Lee Woodward, which is the training course that I basically model all my stuff off of.
Okay.
And then, so basically going through that process, learnt a lot.
Okay.
And then when I was ready, sort of was put into that area to work as my area. And then I was able to implement all of that stuff, and that really helped me to advance.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think we have spoken a lot of gold nuggets in here. I'm pretty sure our conversation could go for right now.
Forever, yeah.
And, but I think I really appreciate that you sitting with me and giving some points to people who are looking to make this as a career. And hopefully people who are buying or selling, they got some good points in here as well, right?
Yeah.
And yeah,
hopefully
thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me
on. And hopefully we will maybe catch up maybe after a few months and make another one of these.
Sounds good.
Give some more value.
Market will probably change by then, so gives us something else to talk about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alrighty.
No worries.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Cheers.